Pepa, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be interviewed. We treasure your expertise. Pepa Moran is a landscape architect. She has been collaborating already for many years with the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona. She's a very well-known professional practitioner, and she is a professor as well at the university, the Catalan Politechnic University, both as an urbanism professor and as a landscape architect professor at the landscape master degree at this university. So I think it's going to be a very interesting interview, not only because your expertise and background, but because you are the author of this park that we have been analyzing in the context of the nature-based solution. And we are willing to know directly from you your experience with this project and the lessons learned. So I think we could start by giving a brief summary of the project, and then jump into what was the background of the project. What did you encounter on the site when you started? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Eugenia, for this opportunity also to share with you all of these years of experience with the park, because it has about 10 years passed since we built the park. And we are really happy to share with you and also all the results that we have been getting during these years. We started developing the project in 2000, more or less 9. And we finished the construction in 2011. And I could show some images from the area.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Okay. So we had the opportunity to have to think about an area which is about 73,000 quadrat meters next to the river Llobregat. You can see the river here on the left, on the right. Then you can see on the left, you see the municipality of El Prat de Llobregat. And then you can see here a very interesting area in terms of ecology, which is the Delta del Llobregat, and all this area, also the agricultural park from Llobregat. And our proposal was mainly to initiate a recovery of environmental values in this area, mainly because this area was very much affected by many services. Also, as you can see here, there are many services passing in this area.
Yes, I think that the images are self-explanatory. Very, quite shocking to see what
shocking, really.
Yeah.
So you can see also a very big or very large beach of concrete, because it was an ask years before to have this promenade next to the river. So we find a very affected area in terms of services, of not permeable areas. Also, the area we had to be working on was about 5 meters high from the level of the river. So we didn't have really a connection or a relation with the dynamics, proper dynamics from the river. So there were many things we should take into account before knowing or before proposing a specific strategy in the area. So what we did was to try to understand, first of all, where we're coming from, to see all the agricultural past. Here you see this photo from the 60s, and then the evolution of some infrastructure surrounding the area of the project. which were the main traces that we should take into account as the communication along the river. This park is one of the main entrances from the most important municipalities to the river Llobregat, and also was a very important piece to be able to connect the whole river all along itself. So it was one of the main objectives to have this entrance for the municipality and for the people. So here you can see some images as how it was evolving. The area also has an industry which was also affecting quite a lot all the soils that were located there. And so there was a modification of topography because to be protected from the floods of the river, the topography was high and there was like a ditch in this area, a berm. So it was disconnected from the river and from the municipality. And that's how we started. We started
Yes, so you identify a lot of needs to start with this entry space, and then the industry, and then how to deal with the infrastructure and the services, and the relationship with the river and the agricultural past of the site. Very interesting.
Yes, and also the river by itself, the quality of the river, environmental in terms of environmental quality was very, very low. The water, all the surroundings. So we had like all needs from the social aspect, as I was saying before, but also in terms of environmental aspects, environmental needs. So these are some images from how to connect or reconnect the area with the context. We were proposing to make a transformation of this ditch that I was telling you about before, and through this morphological transformation, try to go or connect this long ditch with the agricultural area that was still there in between the infrastructures. So we were producing a connection through earthworks and also some entrances to the city of Prat del Llobregat, and start to create a system of paths and corridors for people that would allow to be in this area with comfort and with programs like sport programs, social programs. So that's mainly in terms of social programming. Also, we create these areas you see on the top, which is some shadow structures, because you know, in the Mediterranean we have these problems of shadow, and we wanted to create like a plaza or a more representative space for signing the entrance. And we weren't also very capable to plant many trees because of all the services that are located in this area. So we create this shadow part.
Excuse me, Pepa, could you share the full screen? Because right now I think we are seeing like...
Yeah, of course, sorry.
No, that's fine, but now the drawings...
Yes, one moment, I don't know if you can see now. Can you see it?
Yes, but it's not full screen. It's the presentation.
Oh, so I am seeing the full screen in the other. So I'm going to share another. One moment, please. I'm going to try to share the. I don't know if I can do it, Eugenia.
It's a pity because the drawings are very nice, and now they have a lot of detail, and it would be good to see them.
Okay, so I'm going to try to share again. Just
Okay.
see if we can see the whole screen.
Okay, great.
Maybe now?
Yes, now it's perfect. Yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. Sorry. So as you see, you can see, well, not very well, not very able to see, but there are many infrastructures located underneath, and their size is really big. So it was affecting many of the areas for planting areas. So that's why one of the proposals was to enhance and be higher with the topography in this ditch. So we create this area. I don't know if you see, are you seeing the rest of the presentation?
No, I'm just seeing this slide.
Okay.
There are two sections, two cross sections.
Okay.
Okay.
And
now? Yes, yes. And now we can see all the services that you were mentioning.
Perfect. Exactly.
Yes,
I was thinking another. Okay. So here are the services. We add this amount of earth here to create this new topography, create a new relation with the agricultural existing areas here, and also to create a new surface to be able to plant and to start their recovery actions in environmental recovery. So here you see other section. That's the main plan where you can see the main entrance from Prat del Llobregat. You see also along the river the path we propose to guarantee this accessibility, longitudinal accessibility. Then here you see the new area of topography recreated to have an access to this agricultural existing area that was underneath, about 3 meters high from sea level. And just here we can understand it maybe better all the different uses we were proposing. Here there was an existing tower, and also here is a sightseeing tower, and here there is a very interesting tower also from the industrial past from the area. So we created in this new ditch, new morphology, we tried to propose quite a big area with plantation of about 82,000 units of vegetation species, mainly herbaceous and shrubs, mainly Mediterranean species, which would initiate the recovery of the environmental functions of this area.
Okay, so one of the main things of the project, if I understand well, is this ability to think in terms of process, so that you start something. It's not like a final design, but the willingness to start a certain kind of process on this side.
Exactly. We propose to the municipality and to all the agents that were taking into who were participating in the project, we propose to create quite a big area, about 1 hectare surface, just to be planted and to be renaturalized. That was that was a challenge because this area was not barely used by people just crossing the area, but was mainly generate new conditions that could create a new ecosystem through a plantation and be able to have a refugee space for species that could come and nourish or be refuge here as a starting point of the environmental recovery of this area.
I think that nowadays these concepts we are getting more used to them, but this project was a very pioneering proposal in this sense. Very interesting.
Yes, we have a lot of help also with the team of management in metropolitan area, as Jordi Bordanove and Dina Altawi. They create a lot and they believe on this kind of projects and to be introduced in the project, not only in the management, because they are thinking on these terms in management, but not so much in project. But in this moment, in the moment 10 years ago. So they really appreciate this kind of ideas and they join to the team proposing specific species, showing other examples from other parks that we're starting also to do or to work in these terms, to work much more on the dynamics that will be reinforced through the project than to do much more formal maybe or much more visual project. So in this way, we work mainly in a naturalized space here, although you could walk along and cross it through these passerelles. But also we were creating other areas for leisure, for being, they were occupied by playing grounds and places to stay and that were much more intensively managed. So here you see some of the images of the construction of the site with the new earth. It was preparing for planting. There's one of the first images finished.
Wow, okay.
It was much more or less 1 month after we finished. Here you see all these paths and the platforms, the wood platforms crossing the morphology. Here it's about 4 years afterwards, where the species has been considerably grown. And it's about 8 years afterwards. You can see that vegetation is great in terms of getting better with time. So that's why this project, one of the best aspects is that it's increasing its benefits in terms of environmental values with the time. So
here you think that the situation now is good and is even improving, or do you think it gets to a point that kind of stabilizes?
That's a very interesting question, because I think also the metropolitan area asks us like a protocol or a methodology to introduce this kind of evaluations through time, because vegetation systems, they increase their values with the time mostly, but we should be capable also to evaluate how much are we increasing these values, also to be concerned on them, and also to be able to intervene or to work with if it needs any proposal and any specific action to be done. So here, of course, because of the growth of the plants and also the management plan that has been applied in this area, we believe it has increased quite a lot its benefits. But also afterwards, I can explain a little bit how we could recognize or identify how it has been increasing.
Okay, yes, please. Yes.
Okay, so here there is a sequence of the images we create in the project. At the beginning, how we propose to construct these areas, these naturalized meadows, and which were the communities we were proposing, or the types of vegetation we were proposing. We were proposing different categories of vegetation that were interrelating, and these are more plants for construction. The vegetation when it was storage before planting, and how it evolved until the situation we can find now. And also in other areas, this is the main plaza of the umbraculos, of the shadow structures, the first images that what we imagine that it could be. We construct them with steel and with bamboo cane. And that's images from the construction, some of the pavements made on the site with a sculptor, Josep Serra, who was great to collaborate with him. And some images after we finished the work.
And what about the evolution of these big pergolas?
Yeah, it's quite, it evolves quite well. Also, the project we propose a system of being for being replaced. The cane is so cheap that if it gets damaged, all these frames can be opened and the canes can be replaced, but they haven't been replaced since then. So that's a good sense. Yes, that's a good sign.
So now looking at the pictures, I'm thinking that these kind of solutions that they could be considered nature-based solutions, they satisfy multiple functions because we are talking about the social issues, ecological issues, but at the same time, I think that they required more management. Like you already predict that you need to replace the cane, and like you have to go with these projects. It's not that once you finish the construction, you are done. No, I mean the work starts when the construction is done.
Yeah, especially management, especially when you work with time. And there are many authors who speak about it. You cannot think that the project finishes when it is finished. But maybe it starts when the project finishes. So yeah, having this idea in mind, like working with the we call you reveal the capacities of the landscape and you work with population with that. So yeah, I think that's a very interesting idea to work in population with the nature, and there are many authors who speak about it. Yes. So this is an example of the wood platform what we were thinking about, the modeling, the constructive details. When we started the construction, it was already finished. And here you see the ditch because most of the water system was all collected and it was infiltrated into the aquifer. That's something also that we started to do this 10 years ago, and we are really, really happy to be able to do in this area, because if not, the whole water would be pumped into the pumping system to the sewage. Instead of that, we propose to create these wells that would infiltrate into the aquifer. And these are other areas. This is the promenades to go to the down level, and that's how it becomes with spontaneous vegetation, which is really, we didn't plan this. Areas, they come along, they come freely, and it's really this kind of surprises when nature is let free to perform. And these are some images. It's just when we finish the project. That's about 5 years afterwards. That is when we finish. 1 year afterwards. And that's the methodology we propose with the metropolitan area to implement a kind of methodology to evaluate the increase or the diagnosis of the area in terms of ecological services.
And when is this study from? Like, when did you?
We did it in 2016.
Okay.
And the proposal was mainly to work with the different dynamics that are intervening in the area, the management dynamics, the environmental dynamics, the social dynamics. So that comes from the protocol of also of projects in the metropolitan area. It was a very interesting scheme. And we were like proposing, when they speak about dynamics, to be introduced into maintainment or into management of the spaces. This was our starting point to think about which dynamics we should take into account to increase their function, but also to synchronize them or to be much more integrated. So what we did was, first of all, we proposed to evaluate which was the vegetation that was still being in the area afterwards, after being planted. So we proposed to create some inventaries. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know
maybe catalog or
yes.
inventory. Yes.
Yes. To recognize which species were from the initial planting, which were coming afterwards as spontaneous vegetation, which is very interesting also to take into account, because it's going to be surely there. Many species are going to come, mainly if this area is not going to be very highly maintained, or it's going to be it is allowing that these processes can happen. So we evaluate which species were more present, which had disappeared, because some of the species had disappeared because of competition, because of they weren't adapted to the conditions of this area so much. Maybe also because of management practices. We also try to understand the vital cycle of each species, and if they had their own capacities to be seeded or re-sprouting, which were their capacities to re-spread or being seed by themselves. And we propose to create an experimental plot for monitoring all these dynamics, not only in terms of average of species, but also of ecosystem services or values for the fauna that could be using this space as a refugee space.
Okay.
So we were proposing in the study how to evaluate this function here. So also trying to link these different dynamics, we try to recognize which were the main phenological changes during the year with the species and the fauna that could be in the area. Also the social dynamics, which were the events, the celebrations, the best moments for specific moments for people in the park, and also the management phenology or management cycle during the year. And we propose, this is the phenological, this is how we could introduce all these dynamics together and create a synchronization of all of them, because we find it's very nice to celebrate certain flourishment, for example, of different species. The Perovskia gets blue and it's beautiful. The bulbs are amazing also when they are coming. The Iris purea, the Iris pallida. The cistus also is getting very nice, and also Mellifera species are coming here. So we should take into account certain phenomena or certain dynamics also to introduce into management actions. That's something that Metropolitan Area Barcelona is doing very well, and they are really pioneers on these management actions.
Creating synergies between the different dynamics, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, we joined to this way of doing things, and we also wanted to create an image that was also communicating, because our work also is very much to communicate this kind of aspects to the users, to the people in general also, which were the benefits of this kind of projects, not only what we see, but also what there is there that we don't see. The chemical regulation, all these ecological refugee areas, and we work a little bit on that kind of representation.
And do you know which is the response of the users of the park? Because I think that what you just mentioned is very important. Like if people are aware of what's going on, because this is a change of paradigm, and it may seem that you are abandoning the site since you are not managing as other parks. So the few times that I visited the park, I thought it was very lively and that people uses a lot, but I would like to know your input.
Yes, I think this kind of dynamics that are happening in the place, they are not very well known by the collectives of the people who are there. They are not so aware, because it's difficult also to be noticing this kind of dynamics just in the place. There is a very interesting work also that has been done in the metropolitan area of doing like insect hotels or refugees, and I think it is very valuable, all the information we can provide to users in parks. There are many parks also in Europe that are introducing messages in certain moments of the year to explain which are the processes that are happening there in this moment. And that is very important also for to be conscious of what is the value of this area. And maybe it's something that can be enhanced also as a practice, of course.
Okay, so thank you very much, Pepa, for sharing this project with us, and then the afterward study of what's going on. I think it's very relevant for our work that we are doing within the Urban Greening Plans project.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you have a last comment in general about the possibility to transfer what you have learned in this park in other edge conditions or other sites along the river or in other places of the metropolitan area.
I think what we started to do is being done by many people also now. Many people are very concerned, and also the administrations are much more concerned on the benefits, not only social or public, but also environmental. That has created also, for example, in the metropolitan area, a protocol, environmental protocol, and it is really, really relevant. Also, not only in terms of environmental benefits, but also in reducing the footprint and CO2. So I think, yeah, there is much more awareness of this kind of matters. And I think, yeah, it's question of time also. But I really think that parks now are having a view much more complete and, yes, and integrated.
Okay, so thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you to everyone.